So in Mitch's case, whether that's a QR code that he can get and make the process a lot easier. Review cards, so something you can leave behind after you finish the job and you've done a good job. And then the last one is incentives. So, if you've got the budget for it. I'm a sucker for a gift card. If you're sending me an Amazon gift card, I'm probably going to review you. But I'll definitely review you if I'm going to get an Amazon gift card.
We're all part of this whole money game. This whole...
Welcome back to another episode of Beers and Business. Episode 4. I'm Abe Dearmer, CEO over at Appsembler.
And I'm Andrew Martin, CEO over at Teamgate CRM.
Nice. All right. Today what we're going to do is we're going to do our weekly wrap-up as normal, and then we're going to get into a strategy segment today, which is going to be really interesting. And we're going to look at reviews, and we're also going to break down some referrals as well. So that'll be pretty interesting. I think a lot of people get some value out of that, especially from the review space. But what's been happening, Andrew? The Biwa Bulldogs. Here he is.
It's been a big week, mate. Yeah, we've had my first rugby game on the weekend, round 1. Started with
4 tries.
I was wasted a couple of times.
I forgot to cheers though.
Yeah, cheers. We've got some new beers today, so cheers to.
We had some feedback. We had some feedback, and it was about we should do a review of some beers and get different beers on each time. Also got told that I wasn't drinking enough.
A lot of alcoholics in Australia, obviously, that have had feedback. So it's episode 4 today, but for context, we launched the podcast yesterday across all streaming platforms and socials. So we've had the feedback starting to come in, and it's been pretty positive so far. But some of the feedback was at least give a shout out to the beer that you're drinking. So I'll start first. I've got and I guess to give context, I'm a very vanilla beer drinker. I'm a lager man. So
he's a milk is too spicy for me sort of guy.
I've got a bit edgy today, and first of all, I haven't prepared for this podcast because Abe's been bullying me in the first 3 episodes about over preparing. So I'm going off the cuff. So if it falls to shit, it's Abe's fault.
You just hold the swearing, mate. There might be some children watching, okay?
But today I've walked into the bottle-o and I've just bought the prettiest looking can I could find, and I got home and apparently it's
pretty a can for a pretty boy.
I have no idea what it is, but shout out to Tento's Brewing. They're a local brewery up on the Sunshine Coast, so happy to support those guys. And the beer's pretty good so far. So what are you drinking?
I'm in Bathurst, so I have a Bathurst lager. The beer of Bathurst, Breakfast Brewing. So local brewery. They're actually doing a lot of really cool things. They the Thrifty 500 race that was on, they were the official beer for that race for the supercars. So they're doing a lot of cool things, and their beer is actually pretty tasty. I think the Pale Ale won an award for Australian's Best Pale Ale or something like that. One of my mates was telling me. I don't really follow beer, I guess, literature that well. More focused on drinking it rather than reading about it. But my mate Lockie, shout out to you if you're watching, told me about that. So yeah, no, it's a pretty big hit in Bathurst, and it's actually not a bad beer. You can sit here and drink about 24 of these on a nice hot day, but too bad it's now winter in Bathurst and it's freezing cold.
Nice. Well, my vanilla porter is 1.7 standard drink, so cheers to the
strap in. Here we go.
Trying to get me hammered at what's the time? 11 a.m. So, but here we go. But yeah, the week's been.
I mean, this is 1.4.
1.4. There you go. So get a few in here, and you might be raring to go. But we're back for a podcast after we attempted to record this episode yesterday, and we were off to a flyer. There was magic happening. It was
mate. We had some good banter yesterday too.
And then Abe decided his Bathurst Wi-Fi realised it was actually Bathurst Wi-Fi, and the only other person in Bathurst that uses the internet must have logged on, and it just shut down the system. So here we are back 24 hours later, re-attempting episode 4.
Yeah, and do you want to talk about your little bit of my voice sounds a lot better on this podcast, and the audio is really killing it. I went and, on the advice after the launch was I went and got myself a nice microphone, and Andrew made the attempt to go and get one today too, but unfortunately failed. But shout out to Officeworks in Bathurst, and this is a great story, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, But it's a great story about making customers happy when it could turn you're turning a negative situation to a positive one. So I went in there for a particular microphone, saw it was on special for $89, which is like $100 off. I was like, this is great. Get me this. They were looking for ages, couldn't find it anywhere in stock. And at the end of the day, they said, look, we're really sorry. We've got this other one. We'll give it to you for $60, which is a reduced price. And I said, let me have a look, compare them. Yep, great, $60 sounds great. And to me, it was just amazing because the bloke who helped me was literally running around the store trying to find this microphone, running between locations, which I thought was just amazing. And it just goes to show that, I didn't walk away with the thing that I wanted, but overall my experience was probably better because they were able to turn that negative element into something that was good, where I could see how hard this guy was working trying to find this microphone. And then he turns around and I just can't find it. Here you go. Here's this instead for a discount. And I was like, perfect, let's go.
There you go. You got some thumbs up popping up in your Zoom call as well.
Love the reactions.
Good support from Zoom
this
as well.
This is a story about how Apple sucks because every time you do an update, they turn the reactions on FaceTime. So I updated my laptop last night to the new OS, and the reactions automatically get enabled. So you get these stupid thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. It's really easy to fix, but it's really funny because Zoom got blamed for that. And I imagine Teams did as well. Their support channel just went off about these people saying, why have you enabled these stupid reactions? I was in a customer call and I had like confetti falling from the sky.
I'll one up you there, Abe. So for those that aren't aware, my wife is a psychologist, and recently they've experienced some similar events where people are mid
telling their most traumatic story of their life.
Yeah, and some confetti or balloons start popping off, and unfortunately, psychologists aren't the most tech savvy people, so it took them a long time to work out how to turn it off. And I think the most recent updates turned it back on for them. So, shout out
to Apple for having a shitty experience.
Yeah. And Apple just re-enabling things. I'm sure they re-enable all the privacy settings you turn off as well. But anyway, first bold statement is Apple sucks from Abe, and that came from Abe, just to be very clear.
Apple, please don't hurt me.
If we get any pushback there. So, what about your week? I've talked a lot.
You've talked more than usual. I think I've allowed you to.
8 minutes in.
Almost allowed you to.
This is what happens when you tell me not to prep. We just talk smack. And I think I need to get in because you got a new mic, so I have to try to squeeze my words in before I get talked over with a new microphone.
Look, week has been pretty good. I guess it's probably a good time to get onto our learning of the week since we're almost 8 minutes in. People probably want to get into the meat of it. We've got a lot to cover today, so we'll go through this. But one thing that I found out is that AI washing is a thing. So for those who don't know what AI washing is, you probably have heard of this statement around greenwashing where people will say that their product is carbon neutral, but really all they're doing is buying carbon credits. So it's incredibly bad for the environment. But what they have greenwashing, which enables people to think that they're buying something that's going to be good for the environment, where realistically they've just offset it with a whole heap of other stuff. So greenwashing is a thing, and it's something that people need to be very aware of. But now with AI, we've now got AI washing, and this has come out in the most hilarious way. Because you remember how Amazon launched their peopleless stores where you just walk in, grab what you wanted, walk out, and it charge your Amazon account? Yeah. So apparently the AI that was running that is actually 1,000 Indians. Legit. At least 1,000 Indians. So they found out that based out of India, Amazon had this crew of people that were watching all the cameras and charging people's accounts. So Amazon just got caught up in this whole AI washing thing, which is just hilarious to me. But I think it just goes to prove that we put a lot of stock in AI, and people are, is AI going to take people's jobs? And I think the key message there is AI is not going to take your job yet. But what I'd say is that AI can be such a handy tool, and maybe we can get someone on later on who probably knows a little bit more about it than us about how to implement it as part of your business. But one thing that really stands out to me is just implement it in simple things, and then as you get more comfortable with it, it'll help you more. So don't try and take on this big project with AI because you'd be unhappy with it and think it's a waste of time. Start with something that's small, like, hey, summarize this article or summarize this document, and just do little things like that until you start to get comfortable with how it is. But just be aware of AI washing that's out there and companies that claim to be, AI, but really it's just a bunch of people doing it in the back end is my learning of the week. Yeah. Andrew, over to you.
Yeah, and you see it everywhere now. Like everything's AI powered. Like you see it with all my competitors in the CRM space. Everything's AI powered. And if you look at it, they probably had the features before AI was even a thing. They've just now said it's AI powered. Like it's not really. It's just or an automation. That's like a trigger based workflow, and suddenly it's AI,
it's AI
powered. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. Mine's more, I guess, on an individual level, and it's around delegation. So just the power of delegation, if possible, and reassigning authority. So this only works in very specific cases. With there's obviously risk involved there, but it can also be very, very beneficial. And I'm lucky to have a gentleman work for me named Chase, and shout out to Chase if he's listening. But
yeah, Chase,
a very, very trustworthy, very competent individual. And this, from the start of Q2, I've really handed a lot of leadership and responsibility that I had taken on myself over to Chase. So that's freed me up so much to lean more into the marketing space and really trying to get Team Gates' name out there. So I guess the key point is, and it comes back to like our military career, Abe, where we would call it back then decentralized command or mission command. So if you're going to delegate it, don't micromanage it. Let them go and learn, and then it frees you up to take advantage of the actual time that you've gained. If you're gonna delegate to someone, don't then go and play golf for 18 rounds like I want to. Use that time for something productive to go and generate something for your business. So that's my.
I'll save my
comment
on your golfing skills.
There'll be no golf slander in this podcast. So that's my learning of the week. Is
just, and I think that's a really important thing
from that delegation.
And people generally suck at delegating, and it's just a human nature thing. But I think because of our military experience, you get put in situations where it's impossible to micromanage, whether it be distance or, you just don't have the time to do it. So I think there's great methods and tools, like making sure that people understand the constraints that are placed on them. Like, hey, if you want to delegate a task, make sure you tell them what the budget is. Next thing you know, they spent $10,000 when you expect
clear intent is obviously key. And I think with delegation, you see one or the other. It's either someone is palming off things they don't want to do, and they're going to call it, delegation or mission command, or you have people that don't want to. They want to do everything. They want to control everything. So it's finding the happy medium where you can give very clear intent. This is the goal for Q2, Chase. Go and achieve it. And the method is up to him as long as he stays within the left and right of arc.
And if you have questions about goals, go back and watch our SMART goals.
Episode 2, one of them.
Yeah, episode 2 on goals.
Quote of the week.
Yeah, quote of the week. So mine's from Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA. Very hot right now in the AI space. So accelerated computing and generative AI have hit the tipping point. Demand is surging worldwide across companies, industries, and nations. So if you're only just starting to use AI, you're no longer an early adopter. You're someone who is now in like the masses of using AI. So right now is the time to start using it. So that way you don't become a late adopter and get left behind is probably the key bit that comes out of that. And what is it? We've seen an 80% year-to-date return for NVIDIA, which is like amazing. Top performer out of the Magnificent 7 stocks. And it links into my AI washing piece as well is that it's such a hot topic. Get involved in AI or get left behind is really the key thing there.
I like the point that you said with being an early adopter versus a late adopter, and that it's not even specific to AI, right? It's everything. You see customers, and we've been in the same space, Abe, where we've gone into a customer that's a company that's been acquired, and they just had no tools in place, or you speak to a prospect and they might be using Google Sheets, and you're like, hey, let's, why haven't you made the jump yet to a whether it's a CRM or some sort of platform to help their business? And it's like, well, we're not there yet. We're not completely buried yet. But when you get to the point of being buried, then it's like, all right, now it's this massive pain to transition across, whilst also getting all that historical data across. So, we didn't plan this. It ties into my quote pretty well. The best way to do it is to do it. Amelia Earhart. And it ties into that urgency, the hesitation piece. Just do it. Test it rapidly, learn from it, and move on. Whether it's trying a new ICP, whether it's trying a new marketing message, test it, see the results, get the data, and move on. That ties into urgency. And the theme of urgency really came from a book that Abe recommended to me over the week, which I've started reading, which is Amp It Up. I think we plugged it in one of our earlier episodes, or you might have plugged it, Abe. So I've started that, and after chapter 1, I've already let's call it delegated Chase to also read it, because I think it's extremely valuable for anyone in the leadership space. So that's my quote of the week.
Just to put you on the spot, do you know who Amelia Earhart is?
Yeah. She's old. She was an aviator. She was. She was
the first woman to fly around the world, mate. Second person to do it, but first woman to do it. And there's this really good book that was recommended to me by Paul Lynch, and it's the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And one of the things they use that same quote as well, which is probably where Frank Slipman got it from to amp it up. But they use that same quote, and it's like, if you can't be first, be different. And they use the example of, who's the second male to fly around the world? Nobody cares.
No one
but
knows.
if you're the first person to fly around the world, that's important. First male, that's important. First female, that's important. So be the first of your kind. If you can't be the first of your kind, then be the first in that niche. So, yeah, really, really interesting quote there. Sorry to put you on the spot, but just had to do it.
Nah, it's all good.
To make that. So it's so let's get on to our segment. So 17 minutes in, let's talk about customer reviews and the power of customer reviews. So
it's a hot topic at the moment.
So starting off, we're just going to look at some of the review sites that are out there. We'll not look at it, talk about it. So the first one that people are probably most common with, and whether you know it or not, you're influenced by it, is Google reviews. And Google reviews are really important, especially for location-based services, brick and mortar services especially. Mm-hmm. But if someone's searching on Google Maps for a coffee shop or for a physio or for, any sort of service or cafe or anything like that, it's going to be influenced by the algorithm of Google and what it shows you on maps. And so the way it works is recency of reviews and also number and quality of reviews. So if you're a 5-star business that gets constant reviews on Google, you're going to show up as a top search result for someone searching for a cafe in Bathurst. And so it's super important when you look at those Google business reviews, and getting them from your customers is, should be at the forefront of your mind with every single interaction.
Would you call yourself a review snob, Abe? Do you, if you're traveling somewhere unfamiliar and looking for a cafe, are you jumping on Google and you're looking at reviews and
100%.
ratings?
Yeah. And what I generally do is I filter for the bad reviews.
Yeah.
So I like people are like, oh, look for the good reviews. I'm like, nah, tell me what are the worst. But the problem is with the worst is you just get people who are going to leave a bad review regardless.
You get the Karens. You get the
Yeah,
Karens.
yeah.
But you can see through them pretty quick. It's like,
Yeah.
The waitress took more than 20 seconds to bring me my coffee. So the other probably important point, Abe, is Google recently updated or released a planned update for how they're going to use Google Business Reviews. So even for companies like Teamgate that aren't the brick and mortar companies, your Google review profile is going to start appearing under things like blogs and pages that you rank for organically. So I never thought of Google reviews before they released this update. So I went through a recent push and started reaching out to customers to ask for reviews because that's going to start playing a part in SEO.
Well, it makes total sense, right? Because Google's whole premise and the reason it exists is it provides value for someone who's searching. It provides answers, right? And if someone's searching for the best CRM or the best LMS, and Google can serve that up, which brings us on, to the next review sites that we're going to talk about. But if Google can serve up these reviews, why wouldn't they? It just means they corner the market even more, start devaluing other review sites, and put theirs at the top. But the next ones that we're going to talk about, and I actually dislike both of these review sites for different reasons. But G2 and Capterra are the main review sites that are used, especially around software. And a lot of maybe some people won't know about it, but I guarantee you've probably been on G2 at some stage looking at something, whether you know it or not. But the thing that really annoys me is all of these sites are pay to play. So G2, they charge you an enormous amount of money every year to have special features enabled and analytics. Capterra, they charge you per click. So it's one of those things where you're paying to play either way. And this is where I think Google has like a real opportunity here to steal a market, because it's going to result in these sites becoming less valuable. Google offers it for free, and it just means that it can be part of your normal Google Workspace service.
Yeah, the important piece with Capterra and G2 is you almost take it with a grain of salt now. If you go on G2 and you look at the best LMS in App Assembler's case, it's going to be whoever's paying the most to be ranked number one. And you can filter by recommended by G2 or recommended by Capterra, and they're always going to recommend the people that are paying them the most money. There is ways to get around it. You can look at by ranking or by ratings, but again, they can be incentivized by paid campaigns where people are paid to go and review the people that can afford it, the companies that can afford it. So it's a catch-22 with those kind of websites. And I say that because Teamgate literally this morning was just announced on Capterra as the number one affordable or value for money CRM in the world.
Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Massive, right? Massive. But then it's and I don't pay for Capterra. So that comes solely from organic reviews from my customers, which is a massive achievement for me. But it's almost like, do I now share that on the socials because I know that people are just so of the opinion that Capterra is pay to play. So it seems as if I've spent this money to be listed number one when I haven't. And that's probably the important piece to note is the reports are based on organic and based on the reviews that come through over a set period, whereas the listings are pay to play. So if you jump on and search the best LMS or the best accounting software, the number one is going to be whatever's paying the highest. But if you look at their reports that are released yearly or 6 monthly, that's going to be based on the organic reviews that have come through from actual customers. So yeah, that's G2 and Capterra.
I think it's probably important, maybe like G2 and Capterra, when we look at them, the G2 algorithm, I've had numerous meetings with them, they're never really clear about what goes into their algorithm and how their rankings are determined. Yeah. They roughly say it's like how many reviews are frequent, the star ratings in the reviews. But then there's all this weird stuff like the size of the company, like how many people you have in your organization as employees, which, I mean, anyone can lie about that because they obviously just scrape LinkedIn to get that data. And then everything else that comes with it, it's very deceptive about how they get those rankings. And I'm sure Teamgate's warranted as the best value CRM because it is a great CRM and great price. Go sign up for Teamgate. But the the other side of that is if you're not being fully transparent about how your rankings are made up, then questions need to be asked. And I think, like anything, transparency is key. And I just don't think that the transparency is there in those organizations.
Yeah, it makes it hard. It makes it hard for sure to know what to trust. And you and I both have access to a lot of GMs, a lot of CEOs, a lot of founders through our networks, and we've asked the questions like, what's the value you put on a G2 nowadays? And a lot of people are moving away from it. They're moving away from going.
What they're using? AI.
Yeah, they're using AI now. So now you could be listed in AI as like, what's the best CRM? And AI is going to give you recommendations. So who knows how long until that's monetized, but hopefully it doesn't go that way as well. Yeah. You've got one more on the list, Abe, and I don't know too much about it, so I'm going to let you take the lead here, but Shopify.
Yeah, and I guess this more broadly than Shopify, it's maybe I put the wrong term down when we put together this, but like e-commerce and selling things online in a store, like physical items. When you look at e-commerce, I find that people don't focus enough on how important reviews are in that industry. And Google has done a really, really good job on e-commerce of showing those reviews when you go to search something. So if you go and search like say I was looking for a microphone. If I search podcasting microphone, it'll come up with, all these different stores that'll have their ratings, their star rating they're associated with. And I'll be like, okay, well, this online store has 1 star. It's cheap, but 1 star. I'm not going to buy from that store because the chances of something going
What's
wrong.
What's the likeliness of it?
It's a scam store.
Turning up.
Yeah, like I still remember, actually it's pretty funny, these 2 warrant officers thought they were smart. Back in the day, they ordered these electric scooters that they wanted to ride around on.
What could go wrong?
And and they're like, oh, these are cheap, these are great. We'll get these delivered. And then a few weeks later, they got a pair of sunglasses in the mail. And they didn't think anything of it. And then the electric scooters never turned up. And then they realized that what they actually got sent was a pair of sunglasses, not an electric scooter, but they paid like $200 for these cheap $2 sunglasses. So, like things like that, like reviews matter. So when you think about if you're running an e-commerce site, set up an automation. So you need something that scales, right? So get people to leave reviews once they get their item. So 7 days after, let's just say I order some beers, some Reckless Brewing online, and they get delivered, send an email 7 days later that says, hey, Abe, did you enjoy the beer? Leave us a review. And then you get the review, it goes up on the site. And the thing is, it's like, it just grows over time, continuously evolves. And so continue to provide good products, good service, and you're going to get good reviews and get the acknowledgement. The biggest problem that people have, with, especially around e-commerce, is it's so easy to start, but it's so easy to give up on. And so it's just about how you would continuously employ that reviews to end up being a reputable store.
Yeah, and that ties nicely into like how to generate reviews, right? There's a myriad of different ways, and the most effective methods probably differ depending on what business you have. So I guess on the topic of e-commerce, we can talk about services and the Shopify space and online stores. So I think
what about if we had Mitch on, right? Last week. So let's talk about how Mitch would go about getting reviews, because a Google business review is what Mitch should be aiming for, right? So when someone searches electrician on Google, he's going to want to show up as a number 1 result, right? Zeus Electrical, shout out to Zeus. They're going to want to show up as the top response. So let's talk about some methods that Mitch could use as an example instead of talking too generically. We can give Mitch some free advice.
Yeah, and Mitch was at my house this morning, and we actually talked about this. So he was here.
Did he send you a $3,000 bill for 30 minutes?
Last he did send me an invoice.
Classic electrician.
Experience, yeah. And he actually came up today to fix my NBN, and we ended up deciding not to bother. So he just ended up sitting in my kitchen for 2 hours, distracting me from work, talking about methods to improve his business. So he got some free consulting advice, so maybe I'll invoice him this time.
Yeah, send him an invoice.
So yeah, I guess for Mitch, it's going to be he's got a bit of a shorter window, right? If he's at a house and he's installing over a day or over a week, unless that's a repeat customer, he probably wants to be on top of it pretty quick, right? While it's fresh in the customer's mind to try to generate that review. So we were speaking this morning about his methods. He likes to ask them either in person or shortly after the service has been complete via text or via email. There is other ways. Obviously, you can leave a business card or some sort of.
Dude, you know how I reckon he could like improve the conversion rate of reviews significantly? Is he asks them later on via text or whatever the case may be. But he's an electrician, right? He's got to get access to the house. Usually someone's going to be there from the household, like an adult is going to be there. Hopefully someone's leaving like a 2-year-old there to supervise Mitch. Or like, probably be good supervision.
You need supervision.
But yeah, so there's going to be an adult there. And one of the most effective ways, and yeah, it's confronting for some people, is literally just to ask them on the spot and say, hey, Andrew, glad you get the job all sorted. I'll send through the invoice once I get back later on tonight. Did you enjoy, like, was it a joyful experience? Probably don't ask it weirdly like that, but just, ask them in however you're going to ask. You're happy with the job, whatever it's going to be. They say, yes, good, great. I'd really love a Google review. It really helps me with my business. Could I get you to give me one now? And they go, oh, look, I've got this QR code. Just scan it, leave a review. And then just sit there and wait until they do the review. And like, yeah, it might feel awkward at first, but you'll get used to it. But that's really like a super effective way to make sure, because if you send through a text, it's easy to ignore. I'd love to know out of how many text messages he sends, how many reviews he gets as a result of that. I think that just by saying like, did we do a good job today? Yes. Was the side area clean? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Everything looks great. Perfect. Do you want to leave us a review? Here's a QR code. Scan it. Leave a review right now. Job's done. Perfect.
And do it while you're cleaning up. Say, hey, while we're about to clean up, here's the QR code. Spend that 5 minutes cleaning up. They can see you doing something, taking that extra step that most tradies don't, by cleaning up after yourself, and get that review through. And it makes it more personal, and that leads into other industries. But that personal approach, asking them face to face, it's more genuine, and you feel like you owe them a little bit more than if you received a text message or an email, the next day. So having that personal approach, making it as easy as possible. So that QR code or something that they can quickly just scan. They don't have to search for you on Google and then find your business profile and then add the review. They just scan a QR code. It takes them straight to the review site, and they submit their review. And Google reviews are really easy. They just sign in, select the number of stars, and leave a comment, and it's done. Gets a little bit more complex when we get into more complex sites, but Google reviews is pretty simple.
But what else could be cool as well is if you have, if you carry like, we talked about incentives, right? Amazon gift cards or coffees or whatever. If you had that, either have that automation in there, or because you're on site, you're like, oh, sweet, leave me a review and I'll shout you a coffee. Here's a gift card. Scan the QR code, leave a review, and
merch. Mitch has a heap of merch. He has awesome beanies. If anyone follows me on socials, my little fella Harry wears Mitch's Zeus Electrical beanie everywhere. The middle of summer on the Sunshine Coast in Australia, hot as anything, and he wants to wear Mitch's Zeus Electrical beanie. So, if you've got merch, work out what the Google review is worth to you. If it's worth, a lot of people incentivize with gift cards and things like that. But if you can do merch for a little bit cheaper, whether it's a stubby cooler,
and you get some free promotion out of it as well.
And you get free promotion, and you can deploy that those reviews to social proof or to generate more referral revenue. So yeah, that's definitely a good one for Mitch. Do we want to talk about other industries? Whether we look at software.
And I think one thing that we sort of touched on briefly but didn't really go into was leaving review cards. So if you were a service such as cleaners that necessarily there may not be anyone there, leave a calling card, and one way to incentivize someone is get a small gift, right? Like a customized cookie, or you could use some merch or something like that, and just like leave it nicely, neatly in a bundle, and just say, "Hey, we'd appreciate a review. Scan here, leave us a review. We appreciate your business." And simple things like that can, over time, it'll build that review status and build your business overall. So really, it's like an investment into the future, getting those reviews constantly over time. But yeah, onto another industry. What maybe I've probably got a lot of people listening from the software industry. Let's talk about that. I think for me, the prime time to ask for reviews is after that check-in call when they've just brought your service. So if they come onto Assembler, we have a 90-day onboarding period, very handheld through that process to make sure they achieve success. And at the end of that period, you say, "Hey, how was your experience in onboarding? Was it great? Did Assembler live up to your expectations? Is it doing everything it needed to do? This is perfect. Great. I would appreciate if you leave us a review. I'll send through an email after the call with a link. And I'd appreciate if you give us a review." That works. And people go, because once again, it's like that face-to-face interaction. People go, "Yeah, I'd love to leave a review." You send it across, and then they expect it. They know it's coming, and they can leave a nice review on the site.
Yeah, and it's almost like an emotional debt. Like and if it's coming from the person that's really helped them through that period, that 90-day period of onboarding, so it should probably come from that individual. I've seen a lot of companies make the mistake of, if I was to onboard you, Abe, and then after that 90-day period or 30-day period or whatever it is, you receive an automated email from Teamgate rather than from Andrew, the individual that's actually helped you. It's less personalized, right? If it's coming from me, you're probably thinking, well, this is the person that's helped me. He's asking me for a review. And you can review the individual rather than the company. Like during this process, Andrew was really helpful. We did X, Y, and Z. So we've seen a lot of success recently. We've tried different strategies, whether it was adding automation through our process. We're pretty lucky because we're pretty high touch with our customers. So we have the opportunity to test it at different stages throughout our onboarding or throughout the ongoing process. But what we found really effective was, if you take the approach of, in the software industry, if you take the approach of, this is an individual goal for me. For Bailey, who's one of our success reps, she says, "Hey, Abe,
you'd be doing me a big favor.
You're doing me a solid here. I've got to generate 30 reviews this quarter. Can you help me out?" And you feel like you've got a really good relationship with her. She's helped you out throughout, the support process and success process. So you feel more indebted to actually give the review for her rather than for the company. So I think that's definitely a good strategy for software businesses that are either high touch or not high touch as they go forward trying to get reviews.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think and software industries more inclined to use incentives, I believe, than services industries, because it's a lot more impersonal, right? If you're getting a massage from someone, they're there the whole time. You can see them do the work. If you're buying a piece of software, like, the work's already been done. It's more about you setting up the software and using the software. So I think incentives become even more important when you look at the software industry. But one thing that I would say is, don't over incentivize to the point where it feels wrong. And so you really got to weigh that up about how much you incentivize things. And I think having a relationship and leveraging that relationship is really important with that. But one thing that's also a massive win is we had a talk from the founder of Qualaroo, I think it was, and he said that he saw a massive increase in conversion rates for reviews and feedback forms when you use the long, dirty link. And so instead of hyperlinking it into a word like, "Hey, leave me a review," with a hyperlink on review, or using a bit.ly link, he said just put the full link in there that takes up half the email page, because that will get people to click, because they distinctly know this is a link, I need to click it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So I think to wrap up this and move on to sort of the last point that we want to talk about, you know, business cards or some sort of physical option that you can do if you're face to face. So in Mitch's case, whether that's a QR code that he can get and make the process a lot easier. Review cards, so something you can leave behind after you've finished the job and you've done a good job. Or if you high touch, that individual approach. And then the last one is incentives. So, if you've got the budget for it. I'm a sucker for a gift card. If you're sending me an Amazon gift card, I'm probably going to review you. Doesn't
They
mean
call those
give you
people
five
tight
stars,
asses.
but I'll definitely review you if I'm going to get an Amazon gift card. And I guess the last point we're pretty over time here, but this is a good topic, and I think something that a lot of people are going to get out of it. So we're happy to go a little bit longer. But the last piece is, now you've got the reviews. What do you do with them? How do we actually deploy these reviews to enhance the business offering? And there's a few different things we want to talk about. For me, I think the most powerful for me, and I'm coming from a software perspective, is social proofing. I'm a smaller business. I'm a small fish in a big pond in the CRM world. So when someone lands on my website, I want something to really stick. And for me, that is, reviews and customer testimonials that say, yep, these guys have all the features of the big names, but this is what sets them apart. If you see that coming from another human, you're more likely to, that message is either going to resonate with you or it's not. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then we're probably not a good fit anyway. But so I think social proofing, so whether that's on your website, through your socials, having those reviews, and Mitch does a really good job with it with his socials. He has a really nice template that some legendary CEO friend of his generated for him on Canva, and he uses that template to paste his customer reviews and get them out on socials so people can see what his customers are saying about his service. So that's probably my number one is the social proofing. What about you, Abe?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Is that your social proofing is so important on your website, on your social media, Instagram stories, constantly getting up those good reviews and sharing them on Instagram stories so people see the positive experiences that others have had. One of the really powerful social proofing ones that I've seen, I talk about all the time, is Zoom Info. They did this this piece where they essentially had recordings of people saying how good Zoom Info was. I think the word they used was "it's like magic," and they just had customer after customer saying it's like magic, but they had it anonymized, so they could just use whoever's they wanted to, whether they anonymized the voice, I don't know, whether it was even real, who knows, but it sounded very real, and they just had like floating emoji faces that were speaking for the customer, and constantly putting that stuff up on social media. And it does take time, it does take effort, but man, it does create a big difference in how people see your business, and building trust is the big part there. The other one, I mean, obviously we've got Google Business Reviews, Google Maps, like that instant gratification, right? But you can use those Google Business Reviews across a number of other things. One of the other ones is flyers. So if you are a business that does have posters, flyers, or things that you put up around, then make sure you put customer testimonials on there, at least a little bit. So it comes down to credibility. You look significantly more credible having customer stories on those flyers.
Yeah, and I think real estate do this really well. I don't know about you, but I've been pestered a lot recently. I've had a flyer in my bloody letterbox once a week for the last couple
Hey,
of months.
Real estate sales are down when they start advertising.
Real estate. Well, they're trying to sell. They're like, hey, I've got a buyer. Do you want to sell your house? And then it's got all their sales in the area, and then it's got some customer testimonials on there. So, yeah, real estate have started throwing flyers around, especially up where I live. So, yeah, shout out to those guys. But
and they actually do social media pretty well, as I've noticed, where they'll have the new happy buyer standing out the front of the sold sign
and
saying, like, hey, just sold this to Andrew. Look how happy he is. you can be this happy
Yeah.
too.
Exactly. Great Australian dream.
Yeah.
Which is
Why
getting
pick a
harder and
fence?
harder.
Get around it.
Yeah. Any other final points before we wrap up? We've
No, I think that covers it for
reviews.
reviews. But if anyone has any questions about reviews, put it in the comment section or get in touch with us on socials. Just hit us up. We're happy to help. Happy to help out with review gathering. If you need any, I guess, tactical tips on how to do it or how to use reviews, more than happy to help. But next episode 5, we're going to be talking about sales best practices. So tune in for that. Anyone who's in business has some sort of sales bent to it, regardless of whether you think you're in sales or not. If you're a founder, owner, you're definitely in sales. Some of the sales tactics go across all different areas of the business. So tune in for that. But other than that, that's all I've got for today, Andrew.
Yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up with a like and subscribe. We're now live on YouTube, Spotify, and all of our socials.
Hey, by this time, I've been live for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So
yeah. So get amongst it.
Leave us a review if you haven't already.
There you go. Leave us a review. As we've just spoke about reviews, get amongst it. Can't offer too many incentives. Maybe Abe will send you some incentives from his personal.
When Reckless Brewing starts sponsoring me, I will. I'll send you some incentives. The Bathurst Lager
as well. Let's get some beer sponsors as we move forward. But like and subscribe, leave a review. We're on all socials: TikTok, Instagram, and the like, with the handle Beers and Business Pod. So Beers and Business POD.
Links will be down here. Don't worry.
We'll pop the links in the bio. Otherwise, we will see you next time, and be sure to tune into the next episode.
Cheers.
Drink more.